their actual interview is out in the truck. That's where our team members assess them, which they don't even know about at the time. They just think, oh, I'm going for a ride along. But the reality is they're being tested the whole way.
Tired of losing good tradies? Network Plumbing's Vicky Irwin explains how to build a winning culture.
And, the more time you put into it at the beginning in that onboarding stage, so to speak, the less problems you're going to have because the expectation has already been set. They know what they're going to be doing. They know who they're reporting to. They know what their job role is. And that's also part of my onboarding process as well. We go through an org chart. We go through what your role entails, what the characteristics you should have are. The whole thing is all set there. And if they don't make the standard, they're walking out that door straight away.
Before we jump into this episode, I'm going to ask you a quick favor. We're coming up to 500 episodes of the Site Shed podcast now. It's apparent that only a small percentage of people that actually listen to this show follow us on the platform. Following us helps in a big way. It helps us understand the type of content that you want more of, which is why we continue to make better and better episodes. I would be super grateful if you could take a couple of seconds right now just to quickly hit follow on the app you're listening on. That would make the world of difference. Thank you so much for being part of this Site Shed journey. We look forward to sharing the next 500 episodes with you. Vicky, welcome to the Site Shed.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining. For the listeners and viewers that are not familiar, could you maybe give us a bit of an insight as to who you are and what you do?
I'm Vicky Irwin. I'm at Network Plumbing, Draining, Electrical and Air Conditioning. So been in the business for many, many years, as I'm sure you know. Work hand in hand with the husband, Scott, which is always a bit of a challenge. And I basically do a bit of everything within the business.
I was going to say there could be a podcast in that as well.
Oh, there'd be definitely one in that.
Well, for you listeners and viewers out there that aren't familiar, I've had Scott on the show a number of times. Vicky and Scott have built one of the most successful home service businesses in the country, and they're a wealth of knowledge. And actually, recently when I was on a podcast with Scott, he suggested that, and shout out to Scott for doing so, that it would be great to have you come on and have a conversation around staff onboarding, because he sees that as one of the major bottlenecks when it comes to home service businesses. And probably, truth be told, just businesses in general. We've all kind of been in that scenario where you sort of hire through reactiveness instead of process, and so
Absolutely.
And then leading on to retention and training and all that kind of stuff as well, which I know Scott has told me is like the main area, by a huge area of focus for you guys, which you've been doing extremely well. So definitely keen to unpack some of these concepts.
Yeah, it has been really great for staff retention, but also setting the standards for where their expectations are and where our expectations are as well. It was only this week that one of the management team came to me and said, I am so grateful that you actually put people through this. There was one that slipped through the cracks, and it was that one that was causing them grief that they unfortunately had to let go. So definitely worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's like you say, being able to create those. And if I'm off track here, let me know. But I mean, we find this is kind of the concept with systems in general. And I guess this is, I don't know if you treat this as a system, but it sounds to me like it kind of is. Where you're giving your team members and your staff to a degree, like the boundaries of what they can operate within in order to deliver the product or the service or whatever it might be to the quality that you deem as standard for the business.
Yes. Yes.
And I do think that, we have a lot of conversations, as you can imagine, on systems and processes and this kind of thing here, like on the podcast. But I think this is probably an area that most people still try and think, well, if they can fog a mirror, we'll hire them because there's a labour shortage,
Yeah, absolutely. We're all guilty of that one. Definitely.
Would you say that this conversation is geared largely towards, obviously business owners, sure, but maybe like HR, if a business has an HR department in there?
Definitely. Yeah, but even for the smaller businesses that don't have HR available to them, and I mean, that's most of us, let's be honest, we don't really want HR involved in most of those things. But I definitely feel that it's worthwhile doing.
Do you think that there's a point that, in your experience anyway, was there a point that network got to where you're like, we probably do need HR?
Yes, and that's when we started doing this onboarding so that
Oh, right.
everyone had the same expectation when they came on board, which was probably about 2.5 years ago. And every time I do an onboarding, I'm constantly changing it, tweaking it, making different things happen, and now incorporating videos and safety videos and all different things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, and again, a testament to processes. Like, it's never really a done thing. It's always sort of, it's like showering. You got to keep doing it.
Yes, yes. It's a moving beast.
I'm very curious, I suppose, before we jump in, like, what's the feedback generally that you get from the people that are actually going through the onboarding process?
Well, at the very end, I actually asked them what their key takeaway was. So I actually get to do it. And I'm sitting in our onboarding room right now, and I'm looking at the whiteboard just up here. And on it, it says, the first guy that went through said, "Oh, I love it because you do all the barbecues." And that's what he came and did his onboarding, was the day of the barbecue. And he was like, "It was amazing." The second gentleman, he said it was getting to know the business and its size, and the fact that it could still function the same way that it could as a small business, but on a grander scale because of going through that onboarding situation. And the third guy said, seeing the size as well as meeting all the operators. So getting to meet the team that are behind the scenes and going through that separate stage.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I know we have quite a comprehensive onboarding process ourselves, although it's probably nothing to the caliber of network. But the general feedback we get is, it's so nice knowing that there's like a defined process for this in the interest of best equipping us for success within this role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's clarifying the reporting lines for them as well. So they know exactly who to go to, where to go to, explaining how things work, what the standards are, what their expectations are.
Yeah. And I guess with this, when we're talking about staff onboarding, like, a lot of people tend to think, okay, well, this is, day one, week one. But like, I imagine we're going to unpack a lot more what that looks like ongoing in terms of like supporting them, again, within the interest of helping them, stay on track, hit their targets, like make sure they know what the goalposts look like, so on and so forth.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our first day basically starts with, if you're lucky, the barbecue, because that's always the bonus. You get a free feed. It's always good. But we'll sit down and we go through a 15-step process. And they're not expecting it. They have a good 3 hours sitting in this room with me, of which they get a little bit bored, but I make them get up and get into interactive and start doing things. So it's always a bit of a challenge, and confronting, but they like it at the end.
Throw a bit of firewalking in there, do you?
Oh, I wish, but no, definitely not.
Okay, cool. So day one is basically in there with you one-on-one, going through these.
Well, it'll be the first 3 hours that they get with me. And then after they've had their time with me, they go through to marketing. But yeah, I can run you through the whole process if you really need me to.
Yeah. Well,
it would start with, a welcome to the company, a bit of an overview of who we are, how we got to where we are, and I guess why we do what we do, because Scott and I have always been very passionate about the industry. And as you can see on the wall behind me, all the little quotes that we've got, I'm sure you've seen it in previous podcasts. We collected those over the years, and Scott loves to just walk in the middle of my onboarding and start talking to the new team members and, explain to them how grateful we are that they've joined the team and that they've made the right choice, which is great as well.
Maybe I should ask you, Vicky, actually, before, like, in the prelude to this conversation where people are, sitting in the office with you, what does it look like to get them to that point in terms of recruitment? Like,
who does it?
Well, no, more like who are you looking for, and what does that process look like in terms of, okay, well, yeah, sure, you've applied for the job, but you have to make the cut to get into this room.
Correct. And it starts with an interview, and I've always been that person that goes on gut feel. I've always loved, and testament to us, we've had people here for over 26 years.
Yeah.
So you kind of know who you're getting involved with and you go with your gut. But obviously, I'm not always here, and the rest of the team, especially with techs out in the field, they're going to go through a different process. So these guys, they come in for an interview, they then go and they'll have a couple of days trial, and that's their actual interview is out in the truck. That's where our team members assess them, which they don't even know about at the time. They just think, oh, I'm going for a ride along. But the reality is they're being tested the whole way.
Sure. Well, and I think this is where a lot of businesses fall over. Like they don't have the various stages to the hiring process, and we do the same thing. We'll have like just a general look and feel cultural test, and then we have like a competency test, and then we have we have a few different stages within the process that we make hoops that we make people jump through, and it does take time, but it's you've no doubt like experience, like it's worth putting the time in up front because it can save you a shitload in the future.
Absolutely. And, the more time you put into it at the beginning in that onboarding stage, so to speak, the less problems you're going to have because the expectation has already been set. They know what they're going to be doing. They know who they're reporting to. They know what their job role is. And that's also part of my onboarding process as well. We go through an org chart. We go through what your role entails, what the characteristics you should have are. The whole thing is all set there. And if they don't make the standard, they're walking out that door straight away.
Yeah, I love that because I know many years ago, a mutual friend of ours, Al Levy, he came on the show and he was talking about how, the power of using the org chart within your messaging and helping people understand that you're not hiring for a job, you're hiring for a career path. Like you're giving people these stepping stones to, where they could potentially end up provided, they're the right fit. And that very often, as he says, is the difference between somebody jumping ship in a labour shortage for an extra couple of bucks an hour and staying
exactly.
on board. Yeah.
Exactly. And we've had technicians that start as apprentices just out of school, not a single job beforehand, and they've ended up being service managers. So there's the ability to do that if you want it. And jumping ship is never the way, in my opinion. I think having that loyalty and being that person that goes above and beyond for that person is for your employer is where you want. That's where you want to be.
Okay. So what's the next step then?
So after that, we would go through the leadership team, the key departments, all of that. We go through the org structure, which I always thought was a little bit of a, whatever. But it really is important, especially as you grow. The bigger you get, the more you need to put the lines in at the top to feed everyone down, knowing that they've got that ability to move up as well, which is really good. So then they would probably obviously, when they walk in the building, we go and we do a full factory tour. So they're explained everything, the safety aspects of walking around in the factory area, meeting all the team on the inside, what they all do in the customer service department, in the dispatch and operations area, and in the finance department as well as the marketing. So they meet everybody as they're doing that full factory tour, making sure that they're aware that, there are bobcats and forklifts and all that sort of equipment that can be dangerous, and that we are always looking out for our safety as well.
Yeah, I imagine there's I've been to your shop. It's pretty incredible. Are people just typically blown away when they walk in there? They're like, whoa, this is one shop.
Yeah, they are. I hate to say it, but they are. It's big, and we're very, very blessed with where we've found and being able to expand the way we have over the years. We've got a great team, so the more we get, the better.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess after that, we then talk about training, the fact that we do meetings every week with not just our service technicians, but also our install team and apprentices. We do toolbox meetings every week. It's a Tuesday for one and a Wednesday for the other. They go through all different sorts of things, not only safety, but also where they're going through, what they've experienced for the week, the entire thing. We're making sure that they're always growing and always understanding how to do things.
Is that toolbox talk, is it kind of a collaborative conversation, or are you addressing like curriculum per se, like in each meeting? Like what does that actually look like?
It's a bit of both, actually. So we'll come in with an agenda and we'll set it, and then we'll talk about something that might have happened within the week and how things could have gone wrong if you hadn't have stopped and actually read what you were doing with your safe work method statement. If you had to just tick the box and gone, yeah, it's fine, and what would happen if you hadn't have, that sort of thing. And trust me, it happens.
Yeah, I know.
Complacency.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I remember even when I was working with you guys, many years ago, like the whole concept around like tagging, and like I'll never forget it because it just stuck with me, and it's so true.
Yeah.
Like people that said, "Oh, look, it's been tagged, it's good," but without actually checking the lead that's been cut through or something,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes these things aren't a common sense, but not that obvious. Quick pause for a second. If this episode's hitting home for you, do us a favor. Please give it a follow on this app. And if possible, please share it with someone that you think would also benefit. This podcast was brought to you by tradiewebguys, where day in, day out, we work with tradies and contractors that are looking for predictable, manageable systems to close more jobs and scale with consistency. It's a proven system that's focused on closing more jobs, not just generating more leads. We have loads of case studies and reviews on the website to back this up if you want to go check it out. If you like the sound of predictable, manageable, and consistent growth, click on the link in the description or head to tradiewebguys.com.au and start the conversation. All right, back to it.
True. So as we're walking through that factory, we're also doing the trucks as well. So I'm explaining to, and especially the people that don't work out in the field, or even electricians and it's a plumbing vehicle, or a plumbing vehicle and they're a HVAC technician. We're going through and showing them exactly what this truck is set up for and why, and sending them through. It does blow the minds of all the people in the office because they've not even seen a chipper and they're like, oh, wow, look at this. And I'm like, oh, you want to go for a ride along? All of a sudden, the next thing you know, the following week, they're going for a ride along and they're like, wow, this is so cool, because it's something they've never done before. Yeah. But part of that training, not only is it about getting ready to do that ride along, it's about meeting customers and being able to talk to people. So as part of that onboarding in that training session, we're learning how to talk to a customer. We're learning how to talk to each other, because we teach them that it's got to be important that you treat your team members the same way you would treat a customer, with respect, with care, and always doing the right thing by them.
Yeah, I know Scotty mentioned this actually in the last recording. Like it's so important to have, kids come through as apprentices or whatever it might be that can actually look in your eye and shake your hand and have a conversation instead of, because that's a lot more of a harder skill to train into somebody, and when they're like the face of the business.
Yes, and we need more apprentices. We need more coming through the ranks so that we can grow them into being amazing tradespeople.
So does part of that training involve like development of what you might call like touch skills, people skills,
role playing, all that really embarrassing stuff? They hate me. They run from me.
Do you run that?
Yeah.
So good.
We do. Oh, I do it in onboarding, but then after that, at the toolbox meetings, we might be doing let's chat about collecting payment, and all of a sudden they have to talk, and it's really uncomfortable for them sometimes. And we didn't realize how uncomfortable they were talking to customers or to people, and being around their peers and having that judgment. It was, wow. It was a real eye opener for all of us, I think.
Do you know what's funny? So we have this conversation all the time with clients, because we say to them, and I've been there and I've seen it firsthand, they'll be on site, they'll be talking to their customers, and they'll be having, this amazing conversation with them as the expert, and helping them identify and understand all of the things and the moving parts that, need to happen, and why they're recommending a certain service and what the outcomes can look like, and blah, blah, blah. And then when I ask them to record it so we can create processes on it, or marketing videos, hold a phone up, they just clam up. And I'm like, the difference is you're recording into a phone, which we can edit. So it's a fabrication. It's a huge fabricated fear, but it's like you say, it's a real thing.
It is. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
But it's important. I mean, it's one of those skills which like most people are uncomfortable with. But truth be told, like if you're going to talk about one transferable trait in any vertical, that's it. Like being able to talk and present.
And look people in the eye. It's really important. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Okay, next step. We then go through the professional standards, how we wear our uniform, what the uniform looks like, the fact that we have rags in our vehicles, so you don't have to do this all over your shirt and pants, which is always important to me. I tell them the value of that uniform, the pride that they should have wearing that uniform. Then we talk about respect for the team, respect for our clients, making sure that we're on site. We're not listening to really loud, obnoxious music, and we're not talking about what we did or who we did on the weekend, because the neighbors are listening, the clients are listening, and even their young children are listening. So not cool. Because I've had people at my house do that, and I went, oh, that's not cool. So yeah, we talk about the communication and the expectations that we have for them to be able to communicate with each other, but also with the clients.
Do you find there's a well, I mean, I guess when you're dealing with like a new apprentice, it's probably not as much the case in the sense that you're sort of grooming them from the beginning to follow your processes. But when you've got team members that have come from, maybe they're, a few years in, or they've been working elsewhere and they're coming into your ecosystem, that you get a lot of resistance and pushback with that kind of dynamic.
That's why we do this.
Yeah,
it sets the standards. Yeah. And I've actually had team members that have left us prior to us starting to do all this onboarding. Yeah. They've then come back and they said, I wish that you had have had that running when I was there before, and I would never have left.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, that's great feedback. Thank you. Yeah. So we just kind of evolved from that point. I went, yeah, let's keep going. So
I've had so many clients over the years, and I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers out there can relate, where they've brought somebody in because they've got the experience, but along with that has come the ego and the mindset of, well, it's going to be my way and I'm not going to change it.
Yeah, and we're all going to get them. But again, we flush that out within the first couple of days when they're doing their trial or coming along, and we know if they're going to stay or not.
So when you're putting people through this trial, like you've kind of identified a few of them, but are there like certain key things or areas that you're looking for specifically, that might exist on a checklist that they can't see or something like that?
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it's the fact that they have to get along with the team that they work with out in the field. If they can get along with our guys, they're going to all be happy wanting to work with them. But if our guys come back and say, whatever you do, I don't want him in my truck again, we know that he's just not going to be the right culture fit. He's not going to be the right customer fit. So he's not the fit.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah. Happens that way. Next, we talk about the vehicles. We talk about what happens when you have an accident, which you shouldn't, because you're obviously a very good driver and concentrating and not touching your phone. But that happens. Keeping it clean, keeping it maintained, making sure that it's got everything on it, making sure that if you're traveling with a tradesman, that you've made sure that they've got all the equipment and the tools that they need for the day and materials, and getting all of that done. We also talk about tool equipment as well. It didn't make sense, but tools and equipment that we take out, the Kangos, the quick cuts, all of the big stuff that gets reused on other job sites, making sure it comes back clean, and if it's broken, what to do with it. So we really go in depth with all of that sort of thing, because we want to keep safe, and having tools out there that are broken going back out into the field and out to jobs is clearly not going to be very safe. So we highlight that.
I think it's a really big differentiator with you guys, actually, like when you're lending or lending, like the team member that has the equipment and the trucks and whatever, it's very much like their responsibility to keep it clean and maintain it and so on and so forth. And I know even Brendan was telling me, last time I saw you guys, we we do walkthroughs with them if they're complaining about stuff. We're like, look at your truck, it's a mess, clean it up.
It's like crap.
Yeah, give them that ownership over it and make sure they're looking over it, and again, I think in terms of translatable life skills, that is absolutely one. Look after the stuff like it's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the next thing that we'd talk about after that would be our PPE equipment. So making sure that we're always being safe. Safety is a huge thing for us, because you just don't want to have to ever make that phone call. And I know when Scott was an apprentice, he unfortunately had that experience. So we don't ever want to see that happen in our company. Everyone deserves to go home safe and do all that. So we talk about safety being a non-negotiable, I should say, in our culture here at Network. And we just want to make sure that we're reinforcing it all the time.
Yeah. And is that when we're talking about obviously the equipment side of it with the PPE, but then also you mentioned, before, things with, safe work method statements and
Yes, yes.
yeah.
So at that point throughout the presentation, I would do a little video presentation where Nathan, the general manager, he's sitting there in his little video talking about how to fill it out. And he actually goes through point by point by point by point. And he's such a great speaker. Like he did one take and he was done. And I was like, wow, you're pretty amazing at that stuff. But yeah, so it's so monotonous, tedious, and boring. But we explain to them that, you're being paid to do this. We're
Right.
never asking you to rush. We don't want you to finish a job quickly. We want you to do the job right. And we want you to absolutely make sure that you're wearing the right equipment and doing the right things and using your brain so that you don't get complacent. Because even the most experienced technicians and tradesmen, they make mistakes. They all have accidents, and we just don't want that.
I remember when I was first year apprentice, I was going out on a job with some tradesmen. It was a job down in Kirribilli that had like the old plumbing on the outside of the building kind of scenario.
Yes.
And there was a burst pipe on the outside of the wall, probably like an old soft soldered sort of scenario. And I remember rocking up to this job, and there was one of the huge tradesmen who was like, who was up there with one of the smaller tradesmen. He had his feet around his neck, and he had him out the window, and the tradesman had his soldering iron, oxyacetylene in one hand, and he had his hand on the wall to support him the other, and he had the solder in his mouth, and I was just like, what the shit have I got myself into here? Like this, it's wild as a first year apprentice. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so, you would never see that ever again.
No, never again. It's just
no, never.
Funny. But anyway.
Yeah, not good. Not good. So I guess after that topic on safety, we then move into our apps that we use within the company. So that would be Service Titan. We show them how to log into it. We make sure they've got their username. If they're in the field, they've downloaded the app. If they're in the office, they have the desktop, so it's easy. We then go through how to sign in for our payroll system, which is Employment Hero, which is what we're using, and how they have to clock in and clock out. So we go through all of those steps as well. So they're fully aware of how to use it. And then after that, I'll go back.
What does that technology ramp up look like? Because I imagine, I know like a lot of people come with but I don't know how to use technology, and especially the mindset, more importantly, where it's actually not, we have this conversation all the time with clients, like this isn't that hard. You just need to learn it.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard. It's actually really, really simple and easy. And that's the good thing about the ride-alongs, because even if you're out in the field or if you're in the office, you've got that one person that's sitting beside you to show you the way, to show you the different steps that you've got to go through, and this is how it works, So there's no grey areas. There's no, I wasn't shown. It's just there.
I always laugh at business owners that we work with that have never had to experience the way it was before these, cloud bookkeeping and Google
that
Drive.
Handwritten.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of these.
Trying to work out.
Yeah, it's like trying to explain to my 4-year-old how the dial-up phone used to work. They're like, what? Or the television with a big box at the back of it, it just makes me laugh. I've never had to
back in the day, Scott, if it was Scott, he'd tell you about the green book that you used to use for accounts with the columns.
Yeah, right. Well, that's exactly what I mean, right? And I remember, when I was an apprentice, the same conversation around, I always just thought, and you don't know what you don't know. So, we'd go to jobs, we'd do the job, we'd pull the carbon copy book out, you'd write an invoice, you'd tear one page off, give it to the customer, you'd tear one off and give it to the bookkeeping lady, and then, you'd hope then accounts payable will go and chase it up for the next 3 months and hope you get paid. And then I went for another company, and they were like, oh, we use these transaction machines, and we just go to the job. And I mean, that was back in the day when it was like the Westpac bank unit, which was like a lunchbox size thing. But regardless, it cost you $300 a month to rent it off the bank, but it's still enabled you to get paid.
That's right.
Cheaper than chasing bills.
Yep. Yep. It just technology's been great, honestly, in some ways, not in all.
Yeah. Do you think it's we see this as well? Actually, it's a good point, because sometimes you can pretty easily fall into technology paralysis, where you try and over automate way too many things.
Yep. And you fall down a big rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you go, why am I overcomplicating it so much? And you just have a big system reshuffle, go back to basics.
Yeah.
All the time.
I'm glad it's not just us.
No, it's not just you. I go, no, we don't need that. But
why are you spending all this time building a process that's going to save you 15 seconds a day? Just do 10 seconds to do the thing. It's really
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, it's really easy. And I guess moving from our previous CRM to Service Titan has been really good. So we roll the boys and girls, because we have female techs as well,
Yeah.
how it actually looks, the process from start job all the way to finish job, uploading photographs before, during, and after. We talk to them all about that. We talk about getting Google reviews while they're out on site, making sure that the customer's happy, making sure that we're, doing what we need to be doing and the customer's happy before we leave the work site.
And so when somebody's going through this onboarding process, do they have like a manager or a champion or a buddy or something that's helping them navigate some of the questions that might arise through these different things like technology?
Yes. So we have one of the team members in the office actually sits down and rolls them through the entire process afterwards. So after they're finished with me and marketing, they'll go down and they'll sit with our Service Titan expert. They'll get on a device together. They'll have a dummy job or 2 or 3, just depending. And they'll go through the whole different process of where they start the job, finish the job, and what if it was a job that we need to go back to? What do I press? So it's a good way to do it.
And is that adoption? I mean, I guess it's always a work in progress, but like, do you see that as at the moment a pretty effective way of helping people get adopted into software?
Absolutely. And we were very lucky. So our techs are very tech savvy. I know techs are tech savvy, but they're really quite good and they really embrace it, which is a great thing. So I can't complain at all.
Yeah, I guess if you're breeding that culture into them and they can see very much that this is a way that we can save a lot of time and effort and energy, then it makes it.
Can you imagine if we were still using electric eels?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, technology, we've now got high pressure water jetters, so it's much easier. It's much better. Bring on technology.
I know. Yeah, let it evolve. All right,
that's a good thing. Next up, we would probably go through our employment contract. Everyone gets one. That way they know exactly what they're in for, what their hours are, their expectations from us, what to expect if they need to have a sick day or a holiday, how they go about that process, how they tell people. And we always say, don't ever text us, always call. We don't want to hear from your mum. We want to hear from you. Right. So especially for the younger kids that have just left school, it's a really important thing for them because they're not used to having to do that. Mum's always done everything.
I'm being accountable. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's always... Yeah.
And I wonder generationally too, like, we've got a couple of young people that work with us and like we had one a little while back who'd call in and say, I can't come in today. I had a few too many on the weekend. And I was like, what? You just said that to your boss? Like you play up, you show up, champ. End of story.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Remember those days when you had to go in and you were really hungover and you're like, oh gosh, worse.
Thankfully, it was a long time ago, but yeah,
a long time. Yeah. So after we've been through the contract and what their expectations are, how to do everything within the payroll system, we then go into all of our marketing paraphernalia that we've got going out for our brands. So they get to see what we're sending out. They get to see what our flyers look like, what our sorry we missed you cards are, how to fill them out, where we leave them, how we do that, where we put our stickers or magnets and all that sort of thing. So they get a full briefing of what to expect and what we expect of them while they're on a job site to do with that material.
Okay. Yeah.
They all get a pack.
Yeah, and does that pack stay with them always? Like, is it in their truck?
And they refresh it every week when they come for their meetings.
Oh, I see. That's part of the toolbox talk. It's like, upgrade your pack.
Yeah. Don't forget.
Good plan.
Yeah, and it's down there right next to operations, and the operations manager's like, oh, what's your truck look like? So they'll always have a bit of a sneaky look and make them go back for it as well, which is lovely.
That's awesome.
Marketing love it.
I bet it's doing half their job for them.
Yeah, it's good.
It's amazing how effective to this day fridge magnets are. Like I always joke about, back in the day growing up on the North Shore of Sydney, like there was always a photo of Alan Ferguson and Network Plumbing on my fridge. Like it was always there. Yeah. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Carry on.
Sweet. Yeah, after that, I guess we would then go through the very interactive part where I drag each and every one of them up again. And we talk about what your actual day, your first day out on the truck by yourself would look like. What do you do? And we go through everything from, I go and I basically clock in for payroll. Then I look at my service titan, I see what to do, and I hit start job or on route. So I'm on my way. We call in to the dispatch team. We find out exactly who we're with or what we're doing. And it goes through the entire step from meeting the customer, taking the photos, doing the job, asking for payment, asking for a Google review, and then what do you do at the end? And they have to actually give me at least 15 points to show what they would do on the job site by themselves. And by the end of this, they should know, right? Because they've spent nearly 3 hours with me. They're over me and they just want to get out of this room. So I sit there and I'm like, what are we doing? Let's go. So it's a really good way to do it. And that is basically their full day. And I'm like, great. So you've finished your job. You've spoken to your dispatch team and now they're giving you next job. What's going to happen? And they go, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start the job again. Let's go in the truck. So it's good.
And is there then like an ongoing after day one, the initial onboarding, like a weekly check-in, monthly check-in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So each and every day they're going out with somebody who will be assessing them, making sure that they're learning. And if we've got any problems, they go back to operations managers and let them know exactly what's going on. We always enforcing, the company policies and standards so that they're fully aware of how they should be behaving and all that sort of stuff. But their first week is basically always going to be a ride along, whether they're brand new to the industry or if they're an experienced tradesperson. They're out there learning how we do it.
Do you guys as well like appraise or, I guess like pull people up on things that are not in line with, say company values and like that kind of thing? Yeah.
Yes. Performance reviews and accountability reviews. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And it's not me that gets to do it. Thankfully, I think they're very happy about that. It's actually part of the management team. So it'll be, the operations manager or the, service manager or install manager, whoever it might be. And then we've also got one technician who manages all the apprentices. So he gets the great job of not only having to get them into shape, but takes them out for a meal once a month just to really get to know them and really get them all to bond together.
Yeah, good. And does that then, I suppose, in the back end fuel, like you were saying earlier, the evolution of the process with tweaking things and taking that feedback and applying it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's generally our onboarding. From there, we would get a photograph of the technician because we use it in a lot of our areas, from the back end of Service Titan that sends out the messages to the clients all the way to our family tree wall, which we have in our office. For those of you who have been, you would see it. People's faces everywhere, which is lovely. And then that is then created into we then do a video, we ask them questions, and that gets sent out to the team so that the whole team gets to meet that person before they've even been out the door.
Does that as well, do you have like team bio pages and like things that you send to the actual customer with the photo of them and that kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah. That's all managed inside Service Titan.
Yeah, awesome. Because I say this to guys all the time. Like, if someone's rocking up to your house, and you're not there, but your wife's there with the kids, wouldn't it be nice for her to be able to see who's actually coming to the home?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point, because as part of that training, I actually sit with the team that come in here, and usually between 2 and 4 that come in for the onboarding at any one time. And we try to get them all to start on the same day. Right. And I stand up the front there and I'm like, right, come up and let's just pretend as part of my role play. I'm like, I'm a female. I'm home by myself and both of you are coming to my door. Do you think you should be standing that close to me? And they're like, I'm like, do I know you? No. So it's a really good training process. So we started early.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. Well, so I guess just in closing, Vicky, like where do people start with this? Like, you've obviously built this engine into this huge machine over time. Like, what are the core areas that you think in the space of onboarding that businesses could practically apply today to make sure that they're, progressively on the right track?
Goodness. I think clarifying where the reporting is, making people understand what their role is, where they can go. Yeah, it's all about talking and communicating, opening up those channels so that they understand where you've come from with your business, where you see it growing, how they fit in, because they're a new part of your family, bring them in, keep them under your wing and grow them because they're just like kids.
I was so hoping you would say that because it's so that was the biggest thing for us is helping people understand specifically what the outcomes of their job looks like, not like what their job is, what the outcomes look like. So they know what the goalposts look like. Like they know if they're on the right track or they know if they're not on the right track.
And I think absolutely.
Because again, so often you say, oh, I hired an apprentice, but he was crap, so we got rid of him. Like, well, do you know what he's supposed to do? Like he's fresh out of school. Like, does he understand these things?
Yeah.
Equipped properly to succeed in this role.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. 9 times out of 10, they were set up to fail from the beginning. They were sent out with the wrong tech that had a chip on his shoulder that week because he's broke up with his girlfriend or whatever it might be. There's always going to be something. And I guess that's where we've been very lucky having the size of the team that we have. We've got the ability to move them to somewhere else and see, is it just that person or is it the technician that they were with the first time? So.
Oh, right. And is that, okay, that's interesting. Does that happen quite a bit?
Not really. Our guys are pretty good.
You don't send them out with Mac, right?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't do that.
So good. Well, look, Vicky, thank you so much for your time today. This is super insightful. I hope you guys out there take something from this because this is coming from like I say, one of Australia's most established home service businesses, and there's definitely a lot to learn from that. And I know some of these things can seem a little bit daunting, or truth be told, even can sometimes appear like a bit of a time-wasting exercise in the early stages. But as Vicky has just identified, this is like paramount in the interest of longevity for your team members and making sure that you're hiring the right person and they're sticking around. So thank you very much, Vicky. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And thank you to Scotty for the recommendation. It was a fantastic chat.
Well, thank you for having me.
Great. All right, listeners and viewers, that is a wrap. If you've got any questions around this or any feedback, by all means, leave them in the comments. Thanks, Vic.
Thank you.
Hey guys and girls, how would you like all of the value adds left behind from our podcast guest all put together in the one spot? We've pulled every tool together, every template, every resource shared on the show, and we've packed them all into the Tradie Academy. It's free to join and it's built by the team behind the site shed and tradiewebguys. Inside, you'll get marketing tips, business tools, and first access to future resources, all in one simple dashboard. Just head across to tradie.wiki/pod. That's tradie.wiki/pod. The link's in the episode description. And once again, you just log in once and then you're all set. And if you want to get notified of upcoming episodes, hit subscribe or follow.